I said, gotta go and get it. Yeah, gotta go and get it. Money making mission. Ay, money making mission. Money making mission. Ay, gotta go and get it. Big money business. Ay.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Money Making Mission podcast. I got my man Russ Moser here today. He's the owner of Pima Quality Construction, and we're going to learn all about him and his business. Thank you for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's an honor being here, man.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for coming, man. Let's start from the beginning. Give us a little intro about yourself and kind of what got you into business and who you are and where you're from.
Right on. So, I was born in Pennsylvania, moved to Tucson, Arizona.
You were born in Pennsylvania?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, I did not know that.
I was born in Pennsylvania, then lived in Tennessee for like a year.
For real?
Yeah, all weird. But I was like 4,
That's crazy.
so I don't remember.
But yeah, no, that's cool. I didn't know
so
that.
I moved here when I was like 4. I grew up here, and I've been here ever since.
Wow.
So growing up, I guess getting kind of into the topic of this whole podcast, the money making mission. I always noticed that I was a bit of a. I always wanted to be like an inventor. I was always kind of. I played sports, but I always like dreamed kind of going all the way. So I always knew like I wanted to kind of go big with whatever I did. Then middle school, kind of, young high school, I was kind of just being a kid, kind of fucking around a lot, partying, this
Getting
and
into
that.
shit.
Yeah. But then when I learned I was having my first daughter, that's kind of when my whole life kind of changed a little bit.
How old were you when you had your first daughter?
So I was, I think 17, but then 18 when she was born.
Yeah.
So when I was 17, I learned I was having a baby. That's kind of, life kind of smacked me, So that's when I went out and I didn't graduate high school by then. So right then I went out, I got my GED.
Mm-hmm.
I also went on Craigslist and I got a job. I got a job for a tree service company. So I was working for this tree service company, and the guy, I was just a ground guy picking things up, just like a grunt. And I'd watch the guy just in the trees. I'd watch him. He'd climb the trees with the ropes, harnesses.
Yeah.
And I would just watch. And I was always athletic, so I was like, man, I could do that. So just after watching this guy for months and months and months, I was like, man, I'm gonna try this. I was like,
yeah, get into it.
Yeah.
Was it just palm trees that is that like an all over kind of tree
No.
thing, or is there specific?
So palm here in the desert kind of landscape in Arizona, there's a lot of palm trees.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, there's a market there.
That's like the
but
primary. Yeah.
Up north, like tree guys, that's a different level. I mean, those guys are up like 80, 100 feet in the air, like rigging massive trees.
Yeah,
so
because
here
they grow so much higher.
It's nuts. Like here, it's a little dumbed down. Now, I mean, we get big trees like eucalyptuses and this and that, but it's a different ball game up north, and I pay them respects because they deserve it.
Yeah, just even being that high up, because have you ever hurt yourself on?
Yeah, so we'll get into that. So like back when me at the tree service, that's kind of how I started my own thing. Is I watched the guy, he was trimming trees, removing trees, he had like a truck, all that, and then I was like, screw this. So I quit that job. I had a truck at the time that my grandfather gave me, like an old 1985 Dodge, like a freaking 5-speed,
Yeah.
And then I got a trailer together, and I started hanging up signs. I went door to door. I put flyers on doors. I ran Craigslist ads, and I was just like, tree service, tree trimming, tree removal, and I put my phone number. And started off slow, but it picked up.
How much money do you think that you put into like that initial jump into, like, so you're 17, 18, you're starting your business, and you're putting up signs, which is fairly cheap. You buy the bandit signs, write on them, whatever, and put them up. That's a pretty cost effective way to market, because it's more effort that you're putting in, because you got to go put them up and all that.
Yeah.
But as far as all that goes, the ads and everything, like, did you spend a lot of money, or
well,
was that
at that time I wasn't really anybody. I didn't have nothing. So I kind of scoped out, the cheapest ways. Obviously there's billboards, commercials. That wasn't, I wasn't there.
Yeah. Right.
So I was like, what's the cheapest way? Obviously Craigslist is one of them. But I got a lot of calls off these like you say bandit signs, but I took like 3 like strips of like plywood, and I used stencils to write tree trimming and my phone number. And I would nail those up on like wooden signs.
Oh, sick.
And So basically, when you hang signs, you'll go hang 10 different signs in 10 locations a night. When you wake up, 4 of those are pulled. Then over the next week, a couple more get pulled from the city workers,
Yeah,
business
that's like
owners.
city stuff, huh?
But then there's like a few spots, that will just ride. So when you do hang signs or this and that, or you go solicit things like that, bandit signs, nail them up on wooden poles, the more the merrier, because you got to understand that you're going to lose some. Not
Right.
every sign you put up is going to stay. And then obviously try to get intersections. Try to get people
Yeah.
who are at a red light and they can look over and not like freaking 50 miles an hour and they zoom by it. 'Cause you're
Right.
not gonna get up.
You wanna
Yeah.
kind of and that goes on into later on where your marketing placement and all that goes is you got to do it where it makes sense. You got to do the things that I see signs all the time where it's like in the middle of a street that people are going 65 miles an hour,
Yes.
and then they have it like tiny little handwritten letters and you can't read none of it. So yeah, I definitely get that.
Yeah, so definitely placement's very important. And I think I'm a big guy on less is more with signs. Like you could go and put all kinds of shit on your sign,
Yeah.
um, but really like you just want the minimum. You want the basics. I think the same thing on a business card. Like I think just your name, your business, maybe your services, your phone number, email. That's it.
Yeah,
Don't
because
drown people out.
the more you put on there, then it's like the more people got to read, and then people tend to, unless it's real colorful and intriguing, typically people's
People
interest
they get
go.
overwhelmed
Yeah,
too. Like I was telling you a bit ago. I feel like social media, and I've been watching a lot of like how social media is killing creativity because humans were the most creative when we're bored, but then with cell phones we're always like we got something to scroll on,
like
so
stimulating
so
us.
when you're
So
in like a waiting room or something, like it's so easy to pull out your cell phone and just start scrolling, so then you're never actually sitting there thinking, like actually thinking about things, and
yeah,
that's kind of when like real,
coming up with ideas and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No,
so
it's definitely very.
the signs definitely less was more for me, and I was surprised that it actually fucking worked. I got calls. I went out and I did bids, and dude, sure enough, it started freaking picking up.
So what? So when you started your tree trimming business, kind of what was like your steps as far as building the business itself? Like, did you get your LLC right away? Did you need permits for that kind of stuff?
So tree work doesn't need a permit, or I'm sorry, doesn't need like a contractor's license.
Right.
So I formed an LLC, which is super easy. A lot of people don't realize that forming an LLC
Yeah.
is like $100 and takes
Form your LLC.
it takes like fucking 10-15 minutes
Yeah.
online. You can go, you pick a name, you can register it, all that,
Yeah.
and then you can get a business license. All that shit's so easy.
Because that stuff I think is, even though it may not be as important to a lot of people because they're just trying to get things up and running, I believe that getting that LLC is kind of like one of those steps just to getting the ball rolling. Because once you just start taking steps, like you want to take the easiest steps first, because then once you're in there, you're kind of in there and you get the ball rolling, you keep moving. And I think a lot of people are, I'll get it later. I don't need it right now. No one's tripped on me about it.
Yeah.
But it's like, it gets the ball rolling. And for me, that was, a really helpful thing with it.
One thing I think that people neglect to do is they're so focused on their craft and starting a business and their trucks and everything, but they forget it starts here and here. So I think if you're going to start a business, if you want to do great things, I think you should take some time to kind of sit back and do some research on kind of these other people that have done things, and kind of brainwash your mind into just being motivated, believing that you can do it. So reading books like motivational type stuff, like whether it's like that Jocko guy, David Goggins, Napoleon Hill, freaking
Gary V,
Gary V,
Grant Cardone. There's a world of opportunity. If you have a hard time being motivated, there's a world of opportunity to see people that are motivated and that are doing the right things to get there. Just getting to that point of where you actually spend the time listening to them and doing that,
Yeah.
that's the hard part.
The one thing people underestimate is how many hours a year they sit in a car driving.
Yeah.
So like you're in the car driving and you're bumping some little baby or something, that'd be me.
Yeah.
But really you could be listening to some audiobook or
Yeah.
a podcast like this. Like you
Yeah.
could just be, knowledge. If
Well,
the more of it you have, the further you'll get. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. The initial stage of like me starting my business was every day. I didn't even listen to music at that point. I was very motivated like that. I've definitely fallen off of that. Like I could
Mm-hmm.
probably, push myself to do a little more. Because a lot of people I know, it's hard to spend the time like reading books and stuff. But
I hate reading books.
yeah,
I
but
got obsessed with
yeah, with audiobooks and things like that now,
mhm.
it's
My biggest, I used to fucking so I hate reading books. My eyesight's kind of weird, so like when I read like a white page of black text or something, like it kind of all blurs. It's uncomfortable. Um, so like my biggest thing besides audiobooks was going on YouTube and typing in motivational video, and there's these channels that make these fucking. They take like little
like
snippets of
compilations.
people's talks, and then they put this like kind of like heroic music in the background, this kind of like instrumental type
Yeah,
shit, and I would just I'd be working with my headphones in, just listening to that, and
yeah,
these snippets though are like the real deal. Like it's like a Matthew McConaughey speech at a fucking
an award
like
show.
like a Harvard kind of
Oh,
graduation or something, or
yeah, yeah,
like yeah, just all these big guys who really got out the mud and
yeah.
so they're just spitting facts.
When I think that's the cool thing too is like hearing it from people that, like you said, not like knowing that people didn't just get it fed to them like through a silver spoon. They actually, got it out the mud. They worked hard for it. They actually became something.
That's always a better story
Oh
when
yeah,
you had to earn it.
yeah, no,
No one
absolutely.
respects you, and your
Yeah, you're just
your
giving
mom
it
or
to,
dad
yeah,
was fucking Jim Click, and you got handed down the business. It's
yeah,
not the same.
exactly. Like building it up and being that person who did it. Like that's the big deal there.
The blood and sweat and the time, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, definitely big deal there. To push yourself to listen to those kind of, you know, uh, inspirational, informational, and motivational. All those things.
Of
Yeah.
course. Literally, the more of it that you consume, just the more successful you'll be. It's like not
Absolutely.
a maybe. It's kind of guaranteed. It's just like a law of nature.
Hmm.
It's like the more it's like building muscle. The more you tear it, it rebuilds itself bigger.
Yeah.
It's just the more of anything, the bigger it's gonna get.
Yeah.
So the more you listen to these motivational, this informational, these audiobooks, educational, literally, the more you're gonna learn, the better you're gonna be.
Yeah.
It's science in a way.
Definitely. Yeah. No, it
Yeah.
really is. Yeah. I mean, because the brain is a muscle itself. Um, so what do you do now? Let's talk about you
So
current day.
I had the tree service. I quit the desk job. I was like, fuck that. I started doing tree service. I did that for a couple years, and that shit was picking up big. I was like, I got real big on websites and things like that. I got my website #1 on Google. I was killing it with the tree service. I was doing super good. But it's very dangerous. So earlier, I think you asked if I ever got hurt, and
Oh,
I had. I fell out of a tree once, broke a couple bones in my spine. I dropped a big log on my foot once, broke some metatarsals in my foot. I've always rode BMX and done crazy shit, but I never broken a bone until I got into the tree service.
that's crazy.
So although the tree service was hella good money and it was picking up, I just knew I was like, man, like this can't go on forever.
You're right. At this rate, that there's going to be some major injuries. Well, I mean, hurting your back. That's a pretty major
Yeah.
injury. Yeah.
And then even let's say I hired people. Well, even if then they get hurt, that blood I feel is on my hands.
Yeah.
So just for the liability and the dangerous aspect, I started thinking something different. And my father actually, he has always been in construction. So we kind of, my family went through like a little bit of a rough patch. And I didn't really talk to a lot of them. But then me and my father kind of reconnected, and he was working a job, but he was just like saying, oh, I want to do more, I want to do more, this and that, I want to let's start a business or something, let's do something.
Hmm.
And that's one thing. 2022 is my father. He's old school, so he advertised. He had businesses back in the day, but it was a lot of Tucson chopper type shit,
Yeah.
and that just doesn't work now. So me being a young guy who was good at websites because of what I learned doing my tree service, I was like, I could do this. So I started a construction company on the side, kind of with my pops. Like I
Yeah.
funded the whole thing, but he was kind of like the idea behind it. You know what I
Right. Yeah.
mean?
It was like the piece that brought it into fruition. Like you guys both had like the pieces that could make like a good, well-oiled machine kind of thing.
Yeah, I was thinking more on the side though. I was like, I ain't gonna fuck with it, but just something else to bring in money. I was real money hungry.
Yeah.
And it kind of started off slow, but the construction thing started taking off. And then I was able to leverage my desk job, with the AutoCAD. I started doing all of our permits myself. I was making websites, doing advertising, and the construction thing just. It also felt another thing. I always think forward 20 years, and I was like, man, I want to be a millionaire. Not just regular, but like a millionaire. And I was like, well, the tree service, I don't think that's going to get me there, unless I was like big land tamers type tree service.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Where you scale it and
but
rely on the
yeah,
volume of
and
it.
then me watching all these Gary V type kind of Grant Cardones, all these big wig guys, I was like, real estate's it.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm gonna get into real estate, and I was like, but I want to understand real estate on like a different level. So I was like, I want to understand construction. So that's kind of how the construction thing came to be. Is I was like, this is gonna be how I'm gonna make it big. Quit the tree service. Just I tried to sell the business, and I almost fucking did. I posted
Damn,
on
really?
I posted on Craigslist, and I was like 30,000. You can have the truck, everything, and the website, all that. And some guy almost bought it. And he offered me 15,000, and I was like, no, I need 20 at least. And I missed the sale, and I missed out on 15K right there.
Yeah.
I could have sold it to that guy, but I was like, nah, someone else will come around. But it's a hard thing to do to sell a business.
Yeah. No, definitely, especially if there's not, the good,
It depends the business. Like a tree,
yeah,
like
the good return on that
like
sale
who
specifically.
can hop in and then like hop in and do that specific skilled trade business. It's not like a Raspado spot that anyone can just do that.
Yeah, hop in and take
Yeah.
over and stuff like that. Yeah, no, definitely.
So I got out of the tree business again, and then I was full time fucking just construction, and I've been doing that. We formed that in 2017, and now it's 2022. It's been 5 years, and it is any business you do the first couple years, I say, are a little bit like kind of figuring out, working the kinks, but now it's like just busy. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Once you get that kind of system and you can replicate it and produce consistent leads and generate those leads from your website, whether because you do like Facebook ads. Do you do Google ads as well?
Yeah, so I was always real big on like, when you could hire a bookkeeper, you could hire a tax person, but then you don't really know, and then you don't know if they're even doing it right.
Right.
So I'm all about like you can outsource work to free up your time. That's cool, and that's smart.
Right.
A lot of people do that, but personally, on a personal level, I like to master the craft, and so I always learn the taxes by just googling that shit or watching a video about it.
Well, especially because now you have a whole college course just at the
Yeah.
luxury of your phone.
Yeah, college like a scam now, unless
Yeah,
it's like a
exactly.
university.
You can find
and you can
any
party, yeah.
info you need on Google or YouTube. It's honestly like it feels like it's cheating at this point how easy it is to figure things out.
It's
And,
yeah, it
yeah.
really is.
Like
Compared
you've
to
got
how
to
it
be
used
pretty
to be,
fucking lazy to not like go out and figure out your own shit at this
you
day
could
and
Google
age.
anything.
Yeah.
So I was always a big advertiser too. I always liked graphic design. I downloaded Photoshop and I was like just watching. I type in YouTube, Photoshop tutorial, and then I would just watch like 6 of them, and that was just enough to get me started. And then when I didn't know something, I would just Google that question.
Yeah.
And so I got Photoshop, I got the kind of graphic designish type shit going down. And then the advertising, I did AdWords. I ran, tens of $1,000s through AdWords. AdWords is tricky. I will say that. Like Facebook
Yeah.
advertising
It's a little like
is easy, but
easier to
because AdWords you have like your certain keywords, but then you have negative keywords, and then
Yeah.
you can define those keywords to be very specific or very broad. Like if you want to sell black t-shirts, but you're only selling black t-shirts, you could have it like specifically like I only want my ad to come up if they search this exact phrase.
Yeah. And because
Yeah.
the way Google ads works is like a pay per click kind of thing. So it's like more of like a bidding war. Like, so the more money you're able to put in. So it basically say like it's $60 for like a really common keyword or per click. And then if you have, a less specific, setup on there and they're looking for white t-shirts and they click on it and you still have to pay that $60 even though
Yeah.
if you're not as specific on it. So you can definitely lose money if you don't
Yeah,
do
just
it right.
people clicking on, like, so if you're Googling something like a food spot and you see the first three links and they say they have the little ad symbol next to them, if you click on that, you just cost them money.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works.
So don't
Um,
click on it if you're not absolutely sure you're trying
Unless
to
they're
go
your competitors, because they'll have a daily budget and you can just use it up real quick and just get
No,
them
I don't
off the
advocate. I
fucking
don't
page.
advocate to that.
That ain't gonna get you nowhere. You do it for one day, you ain't gonna do it forever though.
Yeah, but no, definitely, yeah, no, it's like a whole different game with everything you can find on the internet and just the figuring out how to use Google AdWords, how to use Facebook ads. It's really once you get it and you understand the demographic and the audience you're trying to, appeal to and to bring into your ads,
Yes, you're so right.
you're unstoppable at that
But
point.
you need the audience, just like you said. Like
Yeah.
I see. I don't know if anyone has ever noticed this, but when you're on Facebook and you see like a local service company, like a landscaping company in like
In like
Vermont,
Alabama
and their
or
fucking ad comes across your page, it's just they're
yeah.
wasting money
Well,
because
see,
they
you're
didn't
nice
define
about
their
that
audience.
because you've said before how you go and you'll mention it to them like, hey, you got to change your demographics. I'll see that shit and I'll like it. I'll be like, here's your support, bud.
Yeah, I mean, you could have the sickest ad in the world, that your favorite designer made, but if it's just not in the right
Yeah,
hands or
targeted,
in
right?
front of the right faces, it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a wasted dollar or
It's like
whatever.
me, if I'm trying to sell construction services, I don't want my construction services going to, you know,
Rent,
14-year-old girls'
yeah,
feed or something who
yeah,
are
or
interested
like
in makeup.
renters or things that you can really tune in, like really like
You could,
to
yes.
homeowners in this area, this age group, this demographic
Now
about
there is
all
there is a
sorts of stuff.
balance though between being like super specific and then being broad. I think there's you don't want to be too specific or else your ad may not get seen enough.
Yeah, it all really depends on your field of work. I mean, if you're doing like e-commerce versus a service business, like you definitely want like a more broad thing because more people can purchase items.
Yeah, it
Vary and
depends. You have to know what you're selling, and then one I read this book. You ever heard of Brian Tracy?
yeah,
So he has this book called The Psychology of Selling.
yeah,
That shit, I really like that book. That
yeah,
book changed a lot for me. That was like talking about, like, right now you're dressed very nice. While it may not seem like, that does build trust,
yeah,
and that closes bigger deals. And so he kind of goes into detail about things like that. Just the psychology of selling, the people, and a lot of it's emotion.
yeah,
You
definitely.
know.
Yeah, well, I agree too. I think it's like a big deal to me based on my own experiences, like the vehicle I pull up into a job, or if I have a haircut, and I'm not saying you have to be like in like a really, really nice vehicle, but how clean it is. Like if it's clean versus like it can be an old truck, but if it's really dirty, like a customer's gonna. Because one time I went to a job that they were getting another estimate, and I showed up to give my estimate right after, and they left, and they were in like a little BMW, like not a nice,
Like a car though.
not a nice one though. Yeah, it was like
Like
a
a
car,
fucking
but it was like
sedan.
a really like old, like beat up, and like the hubcap was missing. Like it was beat to shit. And they left, and then I walked in. I was like, oh, sorry, were you guys busy? And then they're like, no, that was the other painter giving us an estimate. I was like, oh shit, like oversized clothes, like just look dirty. Like, and don't get me wrong, like there's a difference between going to a job like after a day of work and giving an estimate versus like just looking like shit. Like, so it's
Yeah.
like all those kind of things, like they all go into it as well. Like you said about like, the psychology of selling and everything like that. Like those things definitely persuade a
One
person.
thing you gotta understand too with like when you're selling something is the different types of buyers out there, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
so I used to post Craigslist ads. I don't do that anymore because I think that Craigslist is a bit of a bargain type site.
Yeah. They go there for the cheaper deal.
So like you don't have to be the cheapest guy in town, and you
Yeah.
gotta understand that too. That so go on Craigslist, you can get some good people on Craigslist. Don't get me wrong, but I think mostly you'll get the hagglers, the people, the bargain chasers. So
Yeah,
like
definitely.
the nice truck, the nice clothes. You're appealing to a more wealthy audience.
Well, I seen a video just not too long ago too, and about I'm not exactly sure whose show it was on or whatever, but it was a kid who does like car detailing, and he talks about um, how he raised his prices to like, you know, a significantly higher price, but because he did that, you know, he attracts you know, a nicer vehicle like audience. So he does like these nice clean cars that they're already decently taken care of. Like they're people that care about their thing. So they're paying more to make sure it gets done right. And they're actually cleaner than the people who want
Again,
it
it's
done
back
cheap.
to like emotion, you know,
Yeah.
and like the psychology behind it. It's like there's this, I think it was Donald Trump, and he a lot of his like hotels, they weren't selling, so he jacked the prices up, and
But
then they sold. And it's people thinking that they're getting, you know, a lot of people just want to spend money, and so they
yeah.
think they're getting a nicer experience when really they're not.
I 100% believe in that. I tell people all the time that people want to spend money, and I say that because I
Yeah,
want to spend money if I have
everybody
it.
does.
Yeah, like if you have money, that's why you get money, is because you want to spend it. There's just people that are very tight on money. Like you yourself, you're fairly
I'm a little more
smart.
frugal.
You're
Yeah,
smart with your money. I would say uh
I plan.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but the thing is you save your money so that way when you get a good deal or like value out of it, you're willing to spend that money. Like the thing is, if people can see the value out of it, that they're getting more, they're willing to spend more. And I think the thing is with a lot of people, they want to offer the bare minimum in hopes that they're going to sell
Yeah.
it for the bare minimum, but
Or
that's
like
not the
when you
thing.
deliver a bid and they ask if you can go cheaper,
Yeah.
instead of going cheaper, just, you know, show, you know, justify the value.
Yeah.
Show why you're worth that price in
Yeah.
terms of that you're going to show up when you say you are. There's so many contractors and, you know, people
That
doing
don't
stuff.
come on time.
They're
Yeah.
just they're just not timely. And I don't mean like you got to be on time, but like they don't show up that day. They don't give no calls.
Yeah.
They don't clean up after themselves. You know, so until like a customer has one of these bad experiences, they may be okay with the cheapest price, but the cheapest price is, you know, you do get what you pay for.
Yeah, definitely. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It's just really a game of kind of sales. I mean, really, just in general, it's sales. That's the, you know, the big part of learning it. And you know, you can always hire somebody to be, you know, on your sales team for your company. I mean, you and I, we do our sales ourselves. You know, we bid jobs ourselves, and we
For now, yeah.
yeah.
That's
But
good. Yeah.
like once you definitely when you grow big, like if you're like a real scalable company and you want to scale, then that's where you're like,
That
okay,
is it's pretty if you like actually look into the way like these big, you know, 500 companies actually hire and the way they interview their employees, like they really break it down to like a science. It's crazy,
yeah,
you know.
it it's replicable. Like it's or is that the word replicable?
Well, like you could replicate, like you could
Yeah.
copy it. It is, yeah. You're right. Like you could there's a lot of books on delegation and hiring people, you know, like because you got one thing that's hard for me to kind of I guess swallow is that you have to you can't just make it all yourself. You need other people to help you do that. So
Yeah.
you need a good team.
Yeah,
You can only go
absolutely.
so far by yourself. So
Exactly.
you need
Yeah.
to give up that responsibility and you
Yeah, when
know
you look at these companies or these people that have, you know, multiple companies and some people have, you know, 10, 20, 30 companies and it's like how do they run all these companies? It's like that's the thing is they don't do it alone. They have people. They put people in the right places.
so yeah, back to kind of like how you were saying, like where I see everything going now. Again, the real estate thing. That's kind of my end goal, is to leverage construction and real estate, and that's been it for a while now. Um, so I got some little, you know, I'm actually purchasing that piece of land. It's like
Hmm.
2.5 acres. It's kind of being purchased a little more on a personal level rather than
Right.
like an investment,
Hmm.
but nonetheless, I'm gonna put a house on it.
And it'll
Um,
give you kind of that like foot in the door kind of thing, like help you, you know, figure out what you got to do in the event that you
yeah,
want to do it for
yeah, but
us.
just a real estate transaction, you know, nonetheless. So I mean, like one thing I that hit me kind of hard recently with buying this property was closing costs. Not hit me hard, but just I didn't understand it. I was like, oh, you know, let's just split the closing costs. Let's split the closing costs. And then so I was like, let's split the closing costs, and the seller agreed to split the closing costs. Well, then when it comes down to splitting those closing costs, it's not just like split the closing costs. There's fucking a lot of different types of costs. So I ended up we split the closing costs traditionally, but I forked over like an extra 8,000 some dollars more than the seller, you know,
Uh,
because there's just these all these different fees that need to be answered. the title fee, the appraisal fee, this inspection fee. It's like, who's paying all these? So real estate wise, I got that going. I've been scouting little properties, for like flips. Really, I like to drive, and if I see like an abandoned looking house, I'll jot the address down, and maybe something will come to it.
Yeah, well, because that's the best way to do, like, I mean, even if for the people that are interested in getting into wholesale or to real estate, like you can get into wholesaling, which is basically finding properties and then, assigning them over to someone who's ready to invest and flip them and stuff like that. So, and then you get an assignment fee, you make a little bit of money off that middleman thing. So,
Yeah, right now it seems like real estate is like finding those off market deals because the internet, everything's online.
yeah.
So like I think even good investors are struggling with just finding the right deals.
Yeah,
So like you
definitely.
could be a nobody and you could just your grandma. A lot of people pass away and then their house gets inherited and maybe it's a dump and maybe you don't got the time to figure it out. So I mean it's just like these situations, these distressed properties, these are just they're gold mines, but you have to find them. So anybody can find them and flip them over for a fee.
I'm trying to open like a funeral home or like a cemetery. I was like looking into that because speaking of like everybody dying, like a funeral home, people are just dying to get there.
They are. You know how many people are dead in the graveyard?
All of them.
Every single one.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I was like, is that a trick? Because, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's
Now I feel like that there's some things
There-
in
there's
life are-
like-
there's paperwork and
there's like
that might
specific,
fudge you
yeah,
out,
like there's
yeah.
specific things you got to go through. I kind of looked into it, but I would love to do that because think about it, like there's only a certain set amount of cemeteries here. And
I think I don't know. I'm a little more on the cremation side of, but everyone's got that's kind of like a religious kind of question almost. Everyone's got their own beliefs. Graveyards are just weird to me how because you can't you don't I mean you can't stack the bodies, so you got to spread them and they take a lot of land.
well, like all you got to do is you go bury them, and then at night you have someone come bring them back up and then save that spot open.
That's bad juju, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. You
You're
can't
gonna,
do
you're
that.
gonna get sleep.
Well,
well
no, because either
tonight.
way, the tombstone you'd have to sit. Yeah, no, yeah, no, but
But I mean, yeah,
there's definitely creative ways to do that. To do any business type thing. So there's
it's a fucking it's something that has to it's a task that has to be handled. You
yeah.
know, it's not it is.
So going like to the real estate side of things, like so do you see yourself like because you started with the wholesale thing. And
Yeah,
then-
I got sucked into the Instagram guys, and they're like, "Oh, wholesale." So I bought courses, I went to seminars, and I started wholesaling. I never closed a deal, but I fucking had one like right there. I was going around, and dude, So I've advertised a lot for
Yeah.
the tree service, construction, real estate is a different ballgame to advertise. I mean, you're talking AdWords. Your cost per click on like a tree service ad is like maybe like $8. Real estate's like almost like over 100 sometimes.
yeah,
I mean,
because it's such a more
it's so
um,
much more competitive.
yeah,
And
exactly.
these guys, they had the money to put those $1,000 a day
because the
budgets.
money you get from it is higher. So it's like
So I started off with like wholesaling, kind of not wholesaling, but just like researching that side of things. And then I got my real estate license, and I hired on as like an agent, but I knew right away. And shout out to my dude Tone actually, because that dude opened my eyes a lot on this. I was like wearing kind of clothes like but I was just like not. I was just like real spiffy and just not being like my true self. And one day, Tone, we were, me and him have a lot of talks on the phone and things like that. And he was like, "Man, you should make sure just whatever you do, like you're staying true to yourself." He said, "That'll get you further in life."
Shout out to Tone, forever hustling.
Yup.
If you don't know, figure it out. Cop some shirts. He's always got some new gear.
Yeah, he's a good friend. Like,
He's a hustler for sure.
it's not often I have friends like who like me and you like we can go back and forth with actual ideas. A lot of people are just like fucking video games or let's go to Maloney's.
Yeah, and like just kick it and stuff. And that's the hard thing with a lot of people is finding that group of people that when they say keep your circle small, like it's like you don't even got to try to keep your circle small when it comes to like if you really give a fuck about some shit like this, where if you care about business or if you care about making a better life for your family, whatever, like there's only certain people that care about doing that. So it's like
Yeah.
you just like kind of put yourself in that position when you do start caring about those things, and it brings out the good
Yeah, there's
people in your
not as
life.
many people out there that are go-getters. Like you
No,
talk about saturated markets and things like that. But if you're trying to start a business and you think it's too competitive, believe me, it's not.
it's not, because when I started the painting company, I
That's
was
co- that's a com- that's a competitive
I was
business.
nervous. Because so actually, let's get into that a little bit. So basically, the way that you and I know each other, I already kind of knew a little bit about the beginning of like the tree trimming and stuff like that, because you kind of pushed me into doing that, because I worked for a painting company for a while, and we weren't really very busy because my boss at the time didn't want to push the advertising and stuff like that. He didn't believe in advertising, so we were slow often, and I was like constantly relying on people and stuff. So then it ended up turning out that we weren't in business no more, and I was gonna actually go to be a plumber. I was gonna work with
There's good
some
money
some
there,
buddies,
yeah.
yeah, because I was like, damn, my buddy is making $1,200 a week, and he's been working there 6 months or whatever, and I was like, damn, like I want to go do that, and I almost did that, and then you were like, well, what are you gonna do? Sell all your painting stuff? Like you already got all your stuff. Like why don't you just you know go and fucking start your own company, like do all that. And so once I kind of like put that together, I was like, oh man, like it's game over now. I'm gonna really build it and keep moving and keep grinding and getting it that way.
Yeah, and I'm all about jumping ship. But if you're trying to start a business, the first thing is like, well, what are you good at right now?
Yeah.
You know, like obviously you can learn anything, but like let's get this moving. Like, what do you know? Do you know concrete? Do you know painting? Do you know plumbing? I'd say start there. And again, you can always jump ship. I had a really good tree service, and I just ditched it. You know, to to do this new venture, and I'm cool with ditching this new venture for something else. I don't like to. I get restless. And just doing this. As the Here's the thing about being an entrepreneur too is it's real easy to kind of the idea of it, and then you start a business that's cool for a week, 2 weeks, but then as time kicks in, things just get tiring. So answering all those phone calls, going to all those estimates, doing this and that, it really starts to take a toll on you, I think.
Yeah.
Um so for one, you got to stay true and stay the course to make it. But also, I'm not against it if you're like, you know what, I'm gonna slide to something else.
Yeah.
I know I spent a lot. Don't think of it as wasted time, because it's not.
Yeah. It brought you to the point you're at.
And then you learned a lot in the process.
Yeah. No, definitely. So as far as real estate, all these other ventures you got going on, what is there anything that short term, like you're excited about? Pima Quality? Are you?
I don't know. I mean, I've been trying to get this gutter business thing going, but that's just I got so one thing I'm really getting at right now is I'm trying to like not sell a service but sell a product. So like these gazebos. Like we kind of got the yard kind of shade cornered. Here in this market, like we're like the go-to guys right now when it comes to like patios and gazebos. And then we lose a lot of bids to Costco gazebos, those kits.
Yeah, like the
So just the other day,
DIY kids.
actually, I sent an email to the manufacturer of those kits, trying to like maybe not become like a distributor, but just hook. You send enough emails and you'll find business opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the point, is you got to go and find stuff for yourself as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. You got to get out there and figure it out yourself, because if you don't figure it out yourself, no one's gonna sit there and figure it out for
It's
you.
like you're looking for a job. You don't just apply where it says now hiring. You just, you gotta ask and you will receive.
Yeah,
Eventually, you might have to ask
definitely.
100 times and don't get discouraged, but eventually it'll come.
Yeah,
So I'm trying to offer like cheaper alternatives, because we lose a lot of jobs to people who just can't afford it, and it's expensive. But I'm sorry, it's a lot of fucking work.
yeah. I
You
mean, that's
know.
just you got to understand the prices of labor, materials, everything's increasing, and it is what it is.
So I don't know. I mean, right now we're good where we're at. But I always want more. So I'm thinking of things and I'm tossing ideas. Thinking of equipment to buy that could be a side gig. Um, I don't know.
Nice.
I'm moving with it and
Yeah.
seeing kind of you trust the process. But that's one thing too. You can force things to happen, and that's good too. But also, if you fall back and just let things happen, that you can you can win there too.
Yeah, because when it's right, it's right. Like once if it goes good, it goes good, and that's you kind of accommodate and make those moves as you go, and that's the real learning lesson from business that I've learned is you have to consistently and constantly adapt to your marketplace, to your audience, to the surrounding economy. Everything around you is gonna form your path a different way, and you got to continuously make that work.
And you gotta keep trying new things too. You gotta figure it out. Like back to like earlier, I said the muscle thing. That's one of my favorite kind of analogies
Yeah,
because with business, like you're gonna take a lot of L's. You're gonna fail a lot of times, but that's the way muscle is built. Is by when you work out, you're tearing that shit. You're hurting it, but
yeah,
then it rebuilds back stronger.
yeah,
And just so when you're in the business and you're feel like you can't catch a break, just know that that's worth something right there.
yeah. You can't be afraid to take a L every now and then, because that's
You almost have to invite it. I think. You get to,
yeah,
Will Smith says you got to fail forward. Now Will Smith, he ain't
yeah.
doing so good right now.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know if that he's failing all the way forward.
Yeah, he needs to control. Yeah, I mean that's a good example. You got to control your freaking emotions.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what he did in the split second, how it affected. Honestly, his entire family is probably getting death threats from
Yeah,
certain
absolutely.
people.
Well, the thing is you got to understand, you can't make business decisions based off of emotion. You have to think of it on, especially when other people are, affected by it. Like you once you start having employees and like you got your family you're taking care of, like it's not just you. Like it's not you make a mistake and you're fired and whatever. It's only affected you. Like you mess up and your whole company goes to shit or whatever. You got people.
I mean,
that
these men are here with relying on you to put food on the table.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely a bigger sense of responsibility at that point. But yeah, man.
There is one that that Nevada. I don't know if I ever showed you that 4K aluminum. It's like a product.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited about. It's like this company in Nevada. They start off in like Vegas, and they make these like patio covers, pergolas out of this like extruded aluminum, kind of like I don't know if this is aluminum, this table right here, but it's like
Probably.
But see, the thing about wood is it's very
Hey, don't call out my cheap table, dude.
well, no, wood has a lot of imperfections, and so you'll find a lot of clients who they don't like those imperfections.
Yeah.
So this company called 4K Aluminum, they make these patio covers out of aluminum. It's extruded aluminum, and it's just beautiful. So I've been talking to them. May go to Vegas for some training to start offering their product here in our market. So that's one thing I'm kind of excited about. Hopefully that will, turn a new leaf, bring in some new business and some new. I'm a big portfolio guy. Bring in some new nice portfolio pieces by us.
Yeah, and that's definitely it shows based on your website and everything, kind of the way you show your images and your past work. It definitely shows that you care about that presentation of your past work
For sure.
you build it that way. Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Well, the progress and the growth of what I've seen from from when I first met you to now with your company and everything like that, it's definitely inspirational, motivational, and everything that we talked about before of the growth and building something from nothing. And yeah, I'm glad to have you here, and thanks for giving us a little bit of knowledge and insight on all this aspect, so that everyone else I'm sure is so excited to hear about. But yeah,
I hope so. If you're watching at home, shout out to you. I appreciate you tuning in. If you made it to the end, I especially appreciate that. There's something called a click-through rate when it comes to videos where people click off. So if you listen to the whole thing, hope you
shout
learned
out
something.
to y'all.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys check out Pima Quality Construction. What is that? Your website? What's your website?
PimaQuality.com. Just by going to it helps the algorithm. I got a YouTube channel. I'm kind of starting to. I've been filming GoPros and shit. So yeah, I'm trying to push content.
What's your YouTube channel?
It'd just be Pima Quality Construction again.
Yep. All right. After you subscribe, like, and follow Money Making Mission on YouTube, make sure you go follow, like, and subscribe the Pima Quality Construction YouTube page as well. Get that cracking. We're all trying to help each other out here, get some good content. The more you guys help us, the more we can help you. Peace.
I said, gotta go and get it. Yeah, gotta go and get it. Money making mission. Ay, money making mission. Money making mission. Ay, gotta go and get it. Big money business. Ay.